When you step inside the new Lincoln Nautilus, you aren't going to believe that this is a Lincoln. What's up, everybody? Jared here with carbuzz.com, and welcome to our review of the 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. This is a hugely important car for Lincoln because this vehicle is basically going to define the Lincoln brand for the next couple of years. Lincoln is trying to reinvent itself in a big way, and I think the Nautilus is definitely the start of that. We are testing the Black Label. That is the most expensive version of the Nautilus, and there is quite a lot to explore on this new SUV. We're going to start with the exterior, where here at the front, we've got these H2 pixel headlamps with a lit Lincoln Starlight bar. So that means the headlight bar is actually connected all the way across the grille here. You also have a light up Lincoln logo, so at night this thing is going to do some really cool animations when you go ahead and unlock it. It is really cool, definitely copying some of the other luxury brands like Cadillac and Audi on that, but in a sort of unique Lincoln way. Because we have the Black Label, as I mentioned, we've got 22-inch wheels. We also have a jet black appearance package on our Nautilus right here. That's going to give us this two-tone color that you're looking at right here. There are some really nice colors on this vehicle. You can get red carpet, diamond red, chroma caviar, and blue panther. I believe chroma caviar is the color that we have here on our tester, but the jet black appearance package is going to give us the black roof with the two-tone paint. It's also going to give us these 22-inch wheels that are super mean looking. Lincoln has kept this trait where it has the name of the vehicle here on the side, on the door. That's been a Lincoln trend for a little while now. We also have these kind of weird door handles that actually are like built into the door, like so, and it's not an actual handle that you pull. There's just a little button in there to go ahead and open the door. And then here at the back, we've got the connected taillight bar. The Lincoln logo is actually kind of hidden underneath there. You actually can't see it at a lot of different angles. This also does a really nice animation when you go ahead and unlock it, adding to the drama of this new Nautilus. If at this point you're saying, well, that's a pretty handsome SUV, but I'm definitely not convinced to buy one yet, wait until you step into the interior and see this massive 48-inch screen. That is a pillar-to-pillar screen that goes all the way across the dashboard, the first of its kind in the American market. Now, BMW has actually teased something very similar that will appear on its next generation electric vehicles, but Lincoln, of all companies, actually beat BMW to the punch, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk to you about the 24-way perfect position seats that come standard on the Black Label model of the Nautilus. These are not really a new feature for Lincoln, but they keep improving them with each passing generation. Heated and ventilated, obviously, but you have adjustments everywhere. You can change all of these different bolsters on the screen. You get manual, or I should say power adjustments, but physical down here on the bottom of the seat. You can have one thigh sit higher than the other. No matter what body type you have, you'll probably be able to get comfortable in this seat. And then once you do, it has some really good massage functions as well. I should also talk to you about this color. I think it is really gorgeous. So there are two different combinations that you can get in terms of the Black Label interior. You can have the chalet theme, which has kind of a whitish leather. It's really pretty, I've got to be honest. Or you can get this redwood theme with these kind of maroon red seats and black. I really like that. Lincoln has a specific color for this red as well, but redwood is the name of the theme. Lincoln has themes and then colors for their interiors. They have some other really nice ones as well. On the lower trims, you can get onyx black, medium light space gray, smoked truffle, and you can actually get a black onyx and allura blue, which is pretty nice as well. So now I've gone ahead and fired up the screen, and we got to talk about this. This is so different. So this is a 48-inch panorama display. It's the biggest one that I think I've ever seen in a production car. Over here you have your fuel economy, or your fuel gauge right here with how many miles are left on the trip. Your speedometer right here. We don't have a traditional tachometer. Instead, this little light bar actually moves across the mountains as you go a little bit faster, not necessarily with the engine RPMs. A little bit of a weird way to do it. And I believe that this theme actually changes depending on which Nautilus trim you get. I don't believe that there is any way to change it, at least not that I have seen so far. You see some volume controls there. There's not actually any labeled buttons up here on the steering wheel. These are touch capacitive, and then as you do that, you see it's going to move to different positions up here. You've got cruise control controls over here on this side. You also have Blue Cruise hands-free driving, which we'll hopefully talk about a little bit later as we get the car out on the road. This is very similar to the system that you get in the Lexus RX, but for whatever reason, I think this is executed better. These buttons only really do what you see on the screen. There's no additional way to change what they do like there is on the Lexus RX, and I think the Lexus just makes it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, if I'm being honest. You'll also notice that this steering wheel is a little bit weird. It's a 2-spoke unit, but it's more ovular than it is circular. A little bit weird. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but it does give you a better view of this giant screen than probably a regular circle would do. Now, to the right of the speedometer, we've got our Google map. This whole system is powered by Android Automotive, so you have Google built in. You can ask it questions. You get an internet browser. You get 5G internet, all of the good technology that you'd really want from Google. It's a little bit bare looking, like it doesn't actually have like much of a theme, much of a skin to it, at least not down here on this touchscreen. But this can all be updated, and I have a feeling that Lincoln is going to do just that. Over here, passenger side. This is the one thing that I think Lincoln could improve on with this screen. There's not a whole bunch here. So here down on this lower touchscreen, that's basically how you control all of this. You get these little widgets, see right here. So right now I have a clock, trip, and then I have my weather information. If I want to change out, let's just say weather for tire pressure, I go ahead and swap tire pressure up there, and there, it pops up. It's kind of cool. I can have the media information up there with what's playing. I don't really have anything playing right now. This is very easy, very simple to use. And if I'm driving at night and I don't want all of this distraction, you can push the calm button. Now, everything except the speedometer pretty much goes black. That just becomes a wallpaper now. So that is really easy and nice to control. I do think they're going to have to add more widgets to this because, I mean, seeing the weather at all times, a clock, whatever, little bit lacking if I'm being honest. I'd like to see what else they can add on here. But now we'll talk about the 11.1 inch touchscreen down here. Not the biggest touchscreen in the world, but when you have this sitting right above it, doesn't really need to be much bigger than this. You've got all of the basic stuff that you would need built in. Waze, Sirius XM radio, you've got YouTube. You actually have a web browser. You can only use those while you're parked. You have some games as well. I haven't really tested that out. But this is very easy to use. I don't have too many complaints about this. You can change the ambient lighting. We have those cool little like 3 brush strokes that light up here. You've got your drive modes. Not really a ton interesting to talk about there. They don't really change the driving experience too much. We do have digital sense, just like a Mercedes would do, that it wafts air through the vents, which is kind of cool. Speaking of the vents, you might notice that there's actually no physical way to grab and adjust these. Very similar to a Tesla or a Porsche Taycan. You can just grab the air here on the touchscreen and direct it where to go. The other thing that you can do is you can say, I want it on my body, I want it off, or you can actually put it into motion and it'll oscillate in kind of like a circular way. I really love that feature. That is really darn cool. Down here, I want to point out that this is the most well-built Lincoln product that I have ever been in. Now, the Navigator has been the benchmark for Lincoln for quite a while. But even that I hop into and I kind of touch around stuff and I go, you know what? This looks really nice, but it doesn't quite feel as nice as a Cadillac Escalade. This does. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that the materials and the fit and finish on all of the materials reminds me of a brand new Lexus. That is how good this Lincoln is. And let me tell you a little secret about the Nautilus. It's actually built and assembled in China. This is a Chinese car that I am sitting in, and the build quality is absolutely fantastic. And no, the CCP did not pay me to say that. I'm telling you, this is the best built Lincoln I think I have ever been in. and it's not particularly close. We've got a nice glass volume knob down here that feels very tactile. It has a nice feel to it. We have nice knurled buttons for a lot of our controls, including the drive modes. We've got our 360-degree camera, which is going to pop up in here. We've got our piano key shifters. Lincoln loves these, but again, the click and feel of it just feels better than it's ever felt on a Lincoln before. And then because we have so much space freed up by the shifter, you get tons of space in here with cup holders, a little storage here, wireless charger here. You've got a little bit of a copy of the Mercedes GLE with these little handles right here. This is, bar none, the best Lincoln cabin that I've ever been in. Bravo, Lincoln. Moving on to the back seat, the Nautilus continues to impress with, I don't know if it's best in class legroom, but it's pretty up there. You get just under 40 inches of legroom back here, which is significantly more than you're gonna get on a Lexus RX. These seats, just like the front ones, are very comfortable. I've got tons of space back here. I have heated back seats. I've got my air vents. I've got a outlet down here to charge up my devices. I also have USB-C ports in the back of the seat, very similar to what BMW does. So I have tons of different ways to charge up my devices back here. I've got a nice armrest. It's got storage. It's got cup holders as well. And I can also slide these seats. That's something that's not available on every car in this class. So not only can I recline the seats back to get more comfortable, I can also slide them forward and backward as well. Now, in terms of trunk space, we get just over 36 cubic feet of space back here. This is a very nice size, mid-size SUV. Tons of space here. Underneath the floor, we have our spare tire. We've got some grocery hooks as well. Folding down those rear seats, super easy to do from back here. You just get two buttons. Now, the one thing is when you go to push them, they don't quite have enough weight to go all the way down to be clicked into place, but they do fold pretty flat, opening up just over 71 cubic feet of space back here. That is a lot more than what you're going to get in the Lexus RX. You do get a little bit less space than that with the Black Label. I believe that is because of the perfect position seats. I think they take up a little bit more space here in the back, but not something you're really going to notice. And this is a really nice size crossover that I think is going to be the right size for a lot of buyers who aren't ready to buy something as big as, say, the Navigator. All right, now let's get underway in the 2024 Lincoln Nautilus, and I'm afraid we finally get to the part of the review where the Nautilus kind of stops feeling special. The one part about this car that isn't really super eye-raising, that isn't super impressive, is the powertrain. It's just really relatively normal, if I'm being honest. We've got a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under the hood, mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. We've got 250 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are fine. There's nothing absolutely revolutionary about them. You can get the Nautilus as a hybrid. It's the same 2-liter turbo engine, but you do get a little bit more power because you get an electric motor, 310 horsepower and 290 pound-feet of torque. So I guess the hybrid is relatively intriguing. It's not a plug-in hybrid. There's no electric version. So that's kind of what I mean by it's not really super special in terms of the powertrain. You're going to get relatively decent fuel economy numbers for just a regular old gas turbo 4-cylinder. 21 mpg in the city, 29 on the highway, and 24 combined. If you get the hybrid, the numbers are significantly better. You're going to get about 30 mpg in all of those categories, 31 mpg on the highway if you get the hybrid. I really wish Lincoln would have sent me the hybrid to review. I was a little bit more interested to drive that one versus the typical gas engine one, but I really don't have any complaints with this drivetrain. If I come to a full stop here and just give it a little throttle off the line, good delay. Transmission tuned very, very softly as to not feel those shifts. When you're just driving normally, like I almost thought this transmission was a CVT when I first got into it. I almost thought I was driving the hybrid. And that's a testament to how smooth Lincoln has made this powertrain. I've given Ford some flack in the past for their tuning of their 8 and 10-speed transmissions, but none of those complaints are to be found here. This thing is Lexus smooth, both in terms of the powertrain and in terms of the ride comfort, because we do have adaptive suspension. I believe that's standard on all Lincoln Nautiluses. It is not tuned to be sporty. It is not tuned to be dynamic in any way, but it is very soft, very comfortable. Even on these big wheels, I have no complaints about the ride. This is a cruising mobile, and it does that really well. I'd say really the only weird part of the driving experience in this car is the steering wheel, because as I showed you during the walk around, it's kind of a weird oval shape. It's kind of like the one in the Cybertruck, although this does not have any of the crazy steer-by-wire that the Cybertruck has. It's literally just a normal steering rack. So when you go to do things like a U-turn or things that involve a lot of hand over hand, let's do a turn right here. It's just a little bit weird getting used to the placement of your hands on the wheel. Does it really bother me? No, I think you'll get used to it. It's a little weird to be smooth sometimes, and then you have to get on the piano key shifters. There we go. Here's a 3-point maneuver for you. It just feels like I'm doing a little bit more stabbing at the wheel than I would if it was just a typical wheel. But other than that, I really don't have any complaints about this driving experience. In fact, I just drove a Lexus RX 450h Plus recently, and I gotta say, I think this rides better. I think this is a more comfortable car. It is so quiet, even though this is not the hybrid. You barely hear the powertrain when you're just kind of accelerating normally. It's a very, very low, muted engine sound. I don't have the tachometer like right in front of me. I just have this little mountain range with everything the light touches, Simba, showing me how fast I'm going. So it is keeping my heartbeat kind of more relaxed and more subdued while I'm driving the Nautilus. I think Lincoln did a really nice job with this car. If this is the direction that Lincoln is going with its future products, I think Lincoln can be saved. I was worried about the Lincoln brand just a couple of years ago with what direction they were headed, but this is a really good direction, and I hope that we see a lot of what we've seen here in this Nautilus on an EV in the near future. Now, before I send you off with pricing, we got to talk about Blue Cruise. No more Lincoln Active Glide. Ford and Lincoln get the same hands-free technology. Name Blue Cruise. So when I'm driving on an approved highway, and I put on the cruise control, I can actually go hands-free when it tells me to. So right now I have the light on, and I can take my hands completely off the wheel in the Nautilus. So now I've got a Blue Cruise hands-free on. It's telling me so I can have my hands completely off of the wheel. You can see I am not touching anything on the car right now. It's doing all of the driving on the highway. I don't need to be in this lane, so I'm going to go ahead and move over, put on my turn signal. It's going to move over. I will say, I still don't think that Blue Cruise is the best system. Even just now, as I'm saying this, I promise I didn't plan that. It told me I needed to put my hands on the wheel for some reason. Not really sure why. Oh, I'm going through a toll booth. That is one thing that Lincoln really does not know how to do very well. All right, there we go. Now it's telling me I can put my hands back on the wheel. So I feel like if you are doing a lot of driving, especially somewhere in Florida where I live, where there's a lot of toll roads, you're just going to be like hands on, hands off, hands on, hands off a lot. So it is a cool system. I like especially the fact that you can subscribe to it. For example, and if you don't want to shell out thousands of dollars, but you know you have a road trip coming up where you and the family are going to hop in the Nautilus and drive from Florida to North Carolina, you can subscribe to Blue Cruise for that month, do the trip, and then not subscribe to it for the rest of the time if you're not doing a lot of highway driving. So I do like that Lincoln and Ford offer that. That is a really nice feature. Blue Cruise is really cool. It's just not my favorite hands-free system. I still think that Super Cruise has an edge in terms of smoothness and overall usability, and it doesn't require you to put your hands on the wheel quite as much in my personal experience. That's going to wrap up our time with the new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Let's go ahead and wrap up with pricing. The Premier trim is going to start at $50,415. You step up to $54,750 for the Reserve trim, but then there's still a lot of options that you can add to the Reserve trim. You can add those nice massaging seats and a few other things. So the Reserve can actually get significantly more expensive. I believe you can actually take the Reserve trim all the way up to about $60,000 or even $70,000. $1,000. This black label model is pretty much fully loaded. There aren't too many things that you can add aside from that jet black appearance package here, but this thing is very expensive, starting at $74,250. That is quite expensive, and I should mention that those are all prices for the gas model. If you want the hybrid, which is available on all three trims, that's going to add $1,500 to the price. Now, here's the big question. Is the Lincoln Nautilus a better luxury SUV than the Lexus RX? Because I believe that is the Nautilus's closest competitor. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I actually prefer the Nautilus to the Lexus. I think that the tech is really well executed. You get hands-free driving, you get massage seats, things that aren't available on the RX. I know it might be a little bit out of people's comfort zones to buy a Lincoln, especially one made in China, not in America, especially when the alternative is a Japanese-built Lexus. But this is the strongest effort that I have seen from the Lincoln brand in a really, really long time. I know Lincoln has struggled outside of the Navigator to get people to really treat their products as true luxury, but with the new Nautilus, I think they really nailed it. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.